run 3 miles out of my house is a big deal, but to run 44 miles up and down with the water, the whole thing, Benedict is an expert at it. Okay, so if you have any questions, you really want to plan something, Benedict is your guy. If you just like running and love to look at beautiful running pictures, Benedict is your guy. As you go through this, you start to think, maybe I can do this, Benedict is your guy. So Benedict is like us, has a passion for running. I think, how many days in a row have you been running?
Since August 1st.
August 1st, he's got more than as a daily run, he's got more than 2,000 miles since then, with 275,000 feet of elevation up.
Actually, up.
Up. So 550,000 miles, 5,000 feet if you double that. Wow. So anyway, he's passionate about running. So I'm going to let him get right to it. If he wants to expand on his background a little bit, but here's Benedict with his beautiful pictures and stuff on the Grand Canyon.
I see some familiar faces here, and some of you I would probably like to get to know too, because I'm assuming you're here because you either have been to the canyon or you love the Grand Canyon, and I think it's something that I can share with you a little bit about my story, but most importantly what I want to do is let the pictures do the talking. And as Tim said, I started running, I caught the bug about 3 years ago. And actually it was this weekend 3 years ago when two buddies and I went to the Grand Canyon, and we did a run down to the river and back up. And that was it. It's been all over since. And that's 17 miles. That was the longest I'd ever done at that point. 5,000 feet down and up. Also the biggest, the biggest run, the biggest climb. And what I'd like to show you through the pictures is a little bit about what inspired me to do more and to come back to the canyon. And as Tim said, I've done 8 times back and forth now, rim to rim to rim. And for me, as a coach, 20 years, and trainer, and somebody who likes to share things, I'm at the point now where I feel it's time to pay it forward. So I can share some things with you that I've picked up along the way, and maybe that can help you with your Grand Canyon adventures. So, as Tim said, yeah, I was born and raised in Holland, which some of you may know is about as flat as a pancake. The highest mountain is 300 feet. So that's for starters. Once I started traveling around the world, I got absolutely hooked on mountains and canyons and wilderness. And this is actually in Chile, outside of Santiago in the Andes. And of course, this is the Grand Canyon. So the interesting thing, I think the first time I went to the canyon was about 10 years ago. And I was one of these, there's about 4 million people a year that go, and probably 3,999,000 will stay on the rim. And everybody looks over the rim and go, oh, wow, amazing. And it is amazing, right? So why don't people go below the rim? Well, there's good reasons. There are these pretty strenuous warning signs that promise death, dismemberment, really bad things that happen when you set foot below the rim. And probably the best advice of any of the messages is that going down is optional and coming up is mandatory. And what makes the canyon so unique is it's an upside down mountain, right? So when you climb a mountain or a hill, you get tired, what do? Turn around and you get to go down. You get tired or something happened in the canyon, guess what you get to do? You get to go up, right? So I spent a couple of times visiting on the rim, kind of wondering, what was going on, but that dream of going below, you know, the seed was planted, and I wanted to experience it. So, as I mentioned, 3 years ago, we set out and for my very first run. And what I'd like to do is take you on a visual journey. So right now, just pretend for a moment you're not sitting in these ergonomically, you know, nice black and brown chairs. You're actually coming to the entrance of the Grand Canyon. Everybody go along with that? Just for a couple of minutes here. You may check in, you get in the afternoon, right? You may check in your hotel or wherever you're staying. And you're gonna be running, you're gonna go on a run or a hike the next morning. Now, some of you may be ready for a rim to rim to rim. I was not my first time. I was ready to go down to the river and back up. And so whatever you're ready for, whatever you feel like, is perfect. Because there's always a next time. You can do more, as I did, later. So it's time to look over the rim. And here you're looking down the trail that is called Bright Angel, which goes, I guess we're not pointing right now here, but it goes right through this place called Indian Garden, and then drops below, and then it goes all the way up there to the North Rim. So that high plateau that you see, the highest plateau, that is what a rim to rim to rim trail looks like from the South Rim, right? Now, when you look here, this is the start of South Kaibab Trail. Can everybody see this faint little line here? Okay, so tomorrow morning, you'll be on that. And no, you're not gonna be falling off the side. It's about 4 foot wide, so it's definitely doable. But just to give you an idea of how that trail goes down, and the night before, and you're looking at it, wow, it's you know, I can feel the butterflies in my stomach already. Oops. Now, you may have some extra time, and why not go to Desert View Watchtower on the east side of the park, which probably is the best place to see the sunset, or at least one of my favorite ones. And you can see the Colorado River there actually heading north, and then just outside the picture heading west. And just to be there at sunset is something really spectacular. So you do this the night before, you get back, you get up early, and we are going to go on this rim to rim to rim in 1 day journey. Now, what I've done since I've gone 8 times, I've actually mixed 3 stories together. So you will see 3 different sets of friends on parts of the trail. And I decided to do that because that would give me the best possible pictures to share with all of you. But we are going to go chronologically, and we're going to start on South Kaibab, right here. We're going to go about 6.5 miles to the river. Then we're going to go 14 miles all the way to North Kaibab Trailhead, come back, and go about 10 miles on Bright Angel. Oh, well, I guess that is supposed to be the picture of me in the shuttle on the way to the trailhead. And this is South Kaibab Trailhead before sunrise. This is where it starts.
So Benedict, what time do you normally leave in the morning?
There's a mule train, a pack train that takes goods down at about 20 to 30 minutes before sunrise. So right at about twilight. So if you're a runner, it's usually a good idea to, if you start just a little bit before the mule train, if you want to start without needing to use your headlamp. Now, for most people, if they want to finish by sunset, doing it in 12 hours is really tough. It's a tough thing. So they may be starting at 3 or 2 a.m. and then do, you know, if you have to do a couple hours in the dark, generally it's better to do it when you're fresh, you know, on the front end. So, so I've started anywhere between 12:30 at night and 5:30, 6 in the morning. So as you can see, and it's still quite dark. We're just getting a little bit of light coming.
Hey, Benedict.
Yes.
What time of the year is this?
Very good question. I have done almost all my runs either in April or October. From a weather perspective, those are the best months, statistically.
So how cold is it when you start?
So when you start, it's about freezing, between 30 and 40. And then it warms up about 5 degrees per 1,000 feet that you descend. And the bottom is about the same temperature as Phoenix. So temperature swing-wise, you can start at freezing, and even in April or October, it can be 90 degrees in the middle of the day at the bottom. So that's something, and you know, I can talk more about the house maybe afterwards, or if people are interested in another presentation on the how-tos, we can do it as well. So the first place you get to at about after a mile is called Point. And you know, the first time I saw it, I thought, well, is that some Native American name? But really, no. It is because that is the first place where the canyon opens up, and you can really start seeing the vastness of the trail and the different rock and canyon formations. So, as you can see, got here right at just as the sun started coming up, and there's some other people there too. And of course, this is the time to start catching the sunrise and take some pictures. It is an absolute magical, it's one of the most magical moments that I've experienced in my life. And if you have an opportunity, even if you just go down to, I shouldn't say just, if you go down to Point and catch sunrise there, and then just go back up, your day, your week, you know, your month will have been completely enriched. So, then, of course, it's time to start heading further down. And there's a little shack here. I don't know if you can see it, it's a little dark spot. That's called there's Cedar Ridge. And then the trail continues here along and then further. You can even see it here. What do you see that?
We call those out mansions.
Out mansions.
Out mansions. They've done a succession of outhouses there, each fancier than the generation before. And they were shacks in 1980.
Yeah.
But these days,
Wow.
out mansions.
That's good to know.
Yes. Yes, the out mansions of the Grand Canyon.
Getting to Cedar Ridge here
No.
and continuing on. On the way to Skeleton Point. And just beyond Skeleton Point is one of the first places where you can start seeing the river, the Colorado River. And the seeing is impressive, but what's even more impressive is when you start getting closer. So you think. Now, this is my friend Laura. She's from Tucson. She's done the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim 3 times. We've done a couple runs in the canyon, and so a lot of the pictures on South Kaibab are from run with her. And then this is my buddy Al from Bellingham, Washington, and we did a June down to the river and back up. So it was pretty hot, and but it was also a spectacular morning. So after Skeleton Point, you start going down some huge zigzag switchbacks. And this is one of my favorite pictures because it gives a good view of the size of the rock formations there. Now here we're looking back. Cedar Ridge is up here. Hula Point is up there. So we've descended quite a bit already. Well done, everybody. Now we're on our way to what's called the tip-off, which is at the same level as the Tonto Plateau. Oh, another outmansion there last
Yeah,
week.
yeah, actually it started out as just a wall with no top. It's improved a lot.
Looks like it. Now, when you go down there, when all of you are coming down South Kaibab Trail, this is probably the most impressive backdrop for pictures. So just keep that in mind, right as you get to the tip-off. You have a choice there. You can head west on Tonto over to Indian Gardens, about 4 miles. And so if you don't want to run all the way down to the river, it is about a 13-mile run or a hike, starting on South Kaibab, 4 miles across, and then up Bright Angel. Beautiful, beautiful. Wouldn't do it once it gets hot because it is 98% completely exposed. But early in the morning or in the spring or the fall, it's a wonderful, wonderful side trip. So we're continuing on. It's about 1.5 miles left from the tip-off down to the river. And this is where you have some longer stretches of gliding trail. So if anybody's feeling quite energetic, you can open it up a bit. Mike could.
Hey, Benedict, how far are you behind that guy in blue? I mean, what's the slope on that? Is it actually that steep?
It is. It's typically between 5 and 10%. Because the mules have to take it, so they can't make it too steep, but obviously you don't want to make it too long either.
Mules can do stupid stuff.
Okay, humans, hikers shouldn't be doing it. Okay, we'll let the mules take the. As you can see here, this is one of my other favorite little spots to take a picture, and it's too bad that this is not 3-dimensional, but this goes down. So you're standing here, it really is just about close to straight down, and you can see how the trail just completely goes back and forth. And there you see, can everybody see the bridge? All right, that's the black bridge that we're heading towards. Here, Al is taking a look at the river. You can see the Silver Bridge there, which is the one that heads towards Bright Angel Trail. And there's a little bridge here, and there's the intersection where Bright Angel, South Kaibab, and North Kaibab Trail all come together. Through in this picture, that was actually my very first run 3 years ago this weekend. And I was dressed for 32-degree weather. Still. We also ran into a mule train coming up South Kaibab with people on it. So right before you get to the bridge, there's this tunnel, and it makes it feel a little bit, it's a little bit different, a little bit extra. You know, it's almost like a little initiation of coming to the river, to the water, especially the first time. You have to go to a dark tunnel, and you see the light, and then you're at the Colorado. And I have flown over in a plane a couple times over the Grand Canyon, and there's this little tiny little line, but when you're there, it is more than 100 yards wide. It's quite spectacular. So this is from the other side. So we've crossed the river now, and we're heading towards the intersection with North Kaibab Trail and Bright Angel Trail. There are some ruins and some great write-ups. So when you get down there, take a moment and read up on that. People have been living in the canyon for thousands and thousands of years. So here we are at the intersection, and this is where I'm going to leave, or not quite. We're going to leave Al at Phantom Ranch and then head up on the next story and then pick him back up on the way back. So you can see here South Kaibab Trail out to the east. Phantom Ranch is going to be up to the north, and then Bright Angel is going to be on this side here. It really is a beautiful little oasis in the area where Bright Angel Campground and Phantom Ranch is located. And by the time that we got there, the cantina was still closed. They opened at 8 in the summer months and 8:30 in the cooler months in the winter. So we got there, because it was June, we got there nice and early. They weren't open yet. This is where you can fill up your water. And this is where we're going to leave Al. And I'm going to go to the next section, which is, Shreya's going to help you with this. Yes, excellent. So now we're going to go up North Kaibab Trail, 14 miles, and back down. And I've chosen some pictures that are first thing in the morning pictures, first light on the mountains and the ridges on the side of the canyon, because it is, I found it to be an absolute magical moment. So what that means that these are from rim to rim to rim runs where I started before. I started in the dark, crossed the river in the dark, and then as I'm going up, as we're going up North Kaibab Trail, we can start seeing the light hit the top of the ridges first and then slowly sink down. So one of the times was a full moon. And the pictures don't do justice to moments like these, but I hope you can get a little bit of a glimpse. This is looking back at the South Rim. one of the remarkable things that happen is that you see these really strong shadow lines, and they're moving. Looking back at the south side again. So imagine, I mean, see how far we've already traveled? So you go through the box, and then it starts opening up in Bright Angel Valley here with more vegetation as you start climbing. Then your first little hill, which has some endearing names with some Ross, okay. It's short but really steep. And looking down, you see a bridge there, and that's the bridge to Ribbon Falls. And Ribbon Falls is only a quarter mile off the trail. But if you want to do a day hike or run and not go all the way to the North Rim and back, go to Ribbon Falls. Make that your destination. Bring some food, have lunch there, splash around in the water, and then head back. That's going to be about a 29-mile round trip, as opposed to 44. And there are the signs, so you're not going to be confused. We continue onwards towards Cottonwood Campground. There's a beautiful little creek with some water coming down on this side of it that we cross. And there is Cottonwood Campground. And sometimes you hit it just right with the light coming in first thing in the morning and in the spring, and that green just bursts out. After Cottonwood, we continue for about 1.5 miles, and we cross this bridge towards a place called Pump House. You can see the buildings there. That's the last place to fill up on the trail until you get to about 1.5 miles from the top. So it's a place I always like to get a lot of water, because it's going to be, if you keep a good hiking with some jogging pace, it's going to be about 2.5 to 3 hours from there to get to the top. Now we've gone up a bit, we're looking back. You can see a little building there, Pump House. And this is looking to the west, so we're looking up to the left. Amazing rock formation there. This rock formation is where Roaring Springs, the waterfalls, come out of. And literally, they come about halfway up out of the rock, and that water serves the entire Grand Canyon. Everything on the south rim, everything on the north rim is served by that water. And it is piped. It is piped all the way from there down to the Colorado, and then 5,000 feet up to the south rim. And it's a rickety little pipe that bursts and breaks all the time. And you know, makes you wonder how it's still working. So we're heading up the trail now. You can see that rock formation. It's very impressive. We're in full morning light, and we're leaving Bright Angel Canyon. We're going to make a left up Roaring Springs Canyon, and you can see the trail going up. And there's the waterfall, and it's loud. And then we have our first view of the North Rim in terms of where the trail ends, which is right up there. So we're going along and we're climbing, pretty much switchbacking right up over there. And we're picking up with a group of friends, a run that I did on March 22nd a year ago. everybody see two of them here? Right, gives you a little sense of perspective. And you can see him there, waving at the bottom. And my friend Laura coming up, still smiling. You see how the rocks look a bit indented? Back in the 20s and 30s, they used dynamite to create this section of the trails. And I'm not sure if permits would have been extended nowadays to create that trail. Probably not. I'd be surprised. And to think of 80, 90 years ago, how these trails were made is mind-boggling. By the way, there's our buddy Jake. Can everybody see that little red dot up there? Again, just to give you a sense of perspective. Another section that was blasted out. And this is probably for those that like, thrills and cliff droppings and things like that. This can be one of your favorite ones. Yes, yeah. If fear of heights would probably be better to stay on the left than move over to the right.
Places I've never looked at.
But it's not very long. You're back on a more tamer trail. Now we're heading towards, as you can see, we're getting closer, right? And this is called Red Wall Bridge. So we're up, we're going a little bit down, and then it starts really switchbacking very steeply up towards right here, where you see the end of where the rock ends up there. That's called Supai Tunnel. So about a mile and a quarter or so, or actually about a mile or so to get up there from the bridge. Now, we're up a bit, so we're looking back down at the bridge where we came from. And as we're climbing up, we're heading towards a place called Coconino Outlook. And by now we're at about 7,000 feet elevation. We've climbed a good 5,000 already. North Rim is at 8,200. So going from about 2,400, it's a 6,000 foot climb up. And so this rock, depending on how you're feeling, actually knowing you got to get up at least to that, can feel either intimidating or inviting. You can see the vegetation changes. I snuck in a couple of, even though that was a March run, I snuck in a couple of fall pictures here just because it's so beautiful. And the pine trees. And that's Coconino Outlook right there. Anybody know what that mountain far away in the background is? Mountains? Yeah, you can see all the way back to the San Francisco peaks there. Oh, we're almost there. Look at that. And yeah, I tell you, maybe I shouldn't spoil this, but the first time I got to the North Rim, I was like, this is it? A parking lot? Well, I guess everything is in between the rims, right? So first thing you do is, you shake dirt out of your shoes, you start eating something. That's, by the way, the best water of all the water stations at the North Rim, bar none. Tastes far away the best. This was our March 22nd run a year ago, so you can see a little bit of snow left there. So course, now we're only halfway, right? Everybody ready to head back? Well, okay, less than halfway. I wanted to make it sound, you know, pretty good. So we're heading down.
How long does it take one way? How
What's
long
it?
does it take one way?
It is from South Kaibab to where we started. It is about 21 miles. And if you do a combination of jogging on the downhills, a little bit on the flats, and you keep a nice little power hike going, 6.5 to 7 hours, including taking pictures and everything, is reasonable. If you know, if it takes longer, it's okay too. Typically, what I've found is that it usually takes between 1 to 2 hours longer to go back than that it takes you to get up there. So whatever it takes you to get there, add an hour, between 1 and 2 hours for the way back.
And what level of fitness do you recommend somebody says, hey, I'm gonna do that? I mean, you should be able to run Sabino, or you should be able to.
Sabino?
Put this in perspective, my best Grand Canyon crossing, double crossing, it was slower than any of my 50 miles.
And so it's 44. And how long was your 50?
Under 10 hours. My best Grand Canyon double was 10:27, and at that time I could do it 50 in under 10 hours.
So at a level of fitness, you should be able to.
Do 50 miles.
If you can do a 50-mile ultra marathon, you have the fitness level to do this. With not a road marathon, but with some climbing. So one of the things I do is I help people go from A to B. So if you are a road runner, I help people get from road to trail, from trail to marathon or ultra marathon distance. And then what I classify a Grand Canyon run is not just a run, an ultra run, but an adventure run, because it's self-supported. So there's a whole, everything you got to carry in. When you carry in, you carry out. You got to bring all your food. You got to do all of that. No aid stations. So it is a whole other level. But I think it's a fantastic challenge, and anybody interested in that, want to go the same path I did, I could give you some suggestions.
Let me ask one more question then. So your first one 3 years ago.
Yeah.
How much training did you do before you thought I could do this?
I did a couple of, I started running with TTR, but only a very few runs. TTR is Tucson Trail Running, Tucson Trail Runners, and they have these wonderful runs on Sundays, but frankly, I was really intimidated. I mean, anything over 10, 12 miles. So I looked at the calendar, and they run between September and June, and there may be like 3 runs of less than 13 miles. So I joined with trepidation, and I thought people were going to make fun of
And
me.
you fit right in with the lunatic fringe.
So I think it's a matter of training, but it's also a matter of community and surrounding yourself and associating with other people with the same affliction or / desire. And then it literally is one foot in front of the other. There's no magic to it. If somebody, I was a soccer player, right? I played soccer in Holland. Soccer is 100-yard fit. I mean, just running around in a 100-yard field, that's not 44 miles. So I just started at age 42, so I think anybody can go on a journey and end up doing things like this. So here we're back at Coconino Outlook, taking in where we're going to be heading down. I know, yeah. Our friend David Valenzuela on the left, quite remarkable. He's done the Appalachian Trail, the Continental Divide Trail, and the Pacific Crest Trail, all 3 in sandals. So that's why Mike was saying he's wearing shoes. That's a special occasion there. So we're coming back. I love this picture. It's right below Supai Tunnel. You can see Red Wall Bridge there, right? So we're switch back and down and then heading over to the other side of the canyon wall, crossing the bridge. Oh, resolution. Good. So we're back at everybody's favorite touch the wall place here. Stay on the I guess in this case stay on the right side, right? And coming back into Bright Angel, the valley there in the afternoon. And then, there's my buddy Jake, who was, he had tons of energy. He was sprinting up and down, and taking side trips, and was able to catch him here on the bridge. The beautiful rock formation in the background there. So then we're heading back into what's called the box, and it is a really interesting place. As soon as it gets hot, it is probably not the place you want to be, especially with direct sunlight, because it just becomes an oven. And you can see the trail kind of winding. And I've heard that one of the reasons that Phantom Ranch is called Phantom Ranch is because when you're coming from the North Rim, you see the trail and it goes around the corner here. I mean, literally, and I've done it 8 times. I still get fooled because I think, okay, that's the final corner, and now we're going to be at Phantom Ranch. Oh, no, 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 it turns again, and again, and again. And you basically have to give up. You just got to keep moving and going, okay, I'm in the same place, it's Groundhog Day, and you just keep moving and stop thinking that this is going to be the last turn, because you'll drive yourself nuts with that. And yes, finally, around the last turn, Bright Angel Creek. Here, everybody see a pipe? Sitting there. And those rock formations there on the other side are on the other side of the river, so we're getting close to Phantom Ranch. You can see some cottonwoods popping up here. Oh. That's what happens when you take pictures that are really small and try to blow them up. So that is me sitting there enjoying a lemonade, just to translate the pixels for you. So that's the trip up to the North Rim and back, and we have one section left. And we're going to head up Bright Angel Trail. Now, why? Everybody knows some good reasons why we would want to head up Bright Angel Trail and not go back up South Kaibab. Any hands? Water. Yes.
Not as steep.
Not as steep. Well, it's both both about 5,000 feet. So, but
it takes 2 miles longer, 2.5 miles longer.
yeah, it's about 2.5 miles longer, 2 to 2.5.
Top 3 miles, probably steeper.
Yeah, yeah. So there's more sections where you